not sharing my name with you. I don't do it out of disrespect, but my name was very seldom used in my presence, and nowhere in the Bible is my name mentioned. You see, it was only my immediate family that called me by my name. To everybody else, I was the man who was born blind. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about blindness. You see, there are people that think that if they simply close their eyes really tight for a while, that they understand what blindness is like. Or maybe they shut themselves in a dark room, close the door, and turn all the lights off, that's what blindness is like. Foolishness. That's like saying if I fold my arms behind my back, that now I know what it's like not to have arms. Or if I simply sleep in the front yard tonight, instead of in my bed, that I'll know what it's like to be homeless. Blindness is a terrible thing. In your time, it's not quite as bad. Blind people can lead a fairly normal life. They can learn to read. They can have jobs. But in my time, it was a curse. It was a dark tomb for me. You see, in my time, it was believed that if you were born blind, somebody in your family or your ancestry had committed a great sin. And if it was not them, then you must have committed a great sin. Now, for me, I was not able to do much of anything. I had to depend on others for everything. My food, my clothing, my shelter. The only one good thing, if there is a good thing about blindness, is it heightens your other senses. Your sense of touch. I could take things like a coin or a statue and feel them with my fingers, and I would get a mental image of what I was holding in my hand. My sense of hearing was my only defense. It was heightened because it gave me the opportunity to hear people approaching me. My father used to say that he thought I could hear somebody across town pass gas. Well, I guess I'm glad my sense of smell wasn't quite that keen. But I digress. I spent many of my days the same way. You see, since I couldn't have a job, I had to do something to try and pull my weight. And the only thing I could do is spend my days begging for coins. So each morning I would get up, I'd put on my clothes, I'd go walk down the street, feeling my way along the buildings, till I got to the spot where I'd pick for myself, where many of the merchants would walk by, or people that were in town to shop. And I would sit there with a small jar in front of me, hoping that someone would drop a coin in it. People would walk by me, and a man might ask, "Tell me, blind man, I will give you a denarius if you will answer a question for me." And I would reply politely, "And what question would that be?" As if I didn't already know. He said, "Tell me, who was it that sinned? Was it you or was it your family?" Again, since a denarius was almost a full day's wage, I would politely answer back, "Kind sir, it had to have been me, because my family are hard-working, God-fearing children of Israel." And then with a little luck, they would simply drop the coin in my jar and shuffle away. But what generally happened was they would take their foot and kick dirt on me, or occasionally spit in my face. And then there were the rabbis. I could always hear them coming. Just about every day it was the same thing. A rabbi would lead his students along across the street from me, and they would stop. They never missed an opportunity to use me as a teaching moment. The rabbi would ask his students, "So who was it that sinned? Was it the man who was blind, or was it his family?" Then they would stand and debate the subject till they finally got bored with it, and then they walked past. Generally, one or two of them would spit on me as well. And then came the fateful day where my story begins. It was day like any other day. I woke up in the morning, put on my clothes, took my jar, and I felt my way along the street till I found my spot where I normally sat. I had sat there most of the day. It must have been mid-afternoon, maybe mid to late. And I heard what sounded like a rabbi coming with his students behind him. I thought to myself, here we go again. But this one was different. They stopped across the street from me like all the others, but this rabbi said nothing. Finally, one of his students asked, "Teacher, who was it that sinned? Was it this man, or was it his family?" The rabbi answered, "Neither. Neither this man nor his family sinned. This man was born blind so that God's great works could be revealed through him. And now we must do what he who sent me to do, so that his great work could be revealed. We must work quickly because it will be dark soon, and nobody can work in the dark. And as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." Now I sat and pondered those words. I couldn't believe what I had heard. No other teacher or rabbi had said anything like that. He had said that I was not responsible for my blindness, nor was my family. It was then that I heard him approaching me. When he got close to me, he knelt down beside me, and I heard him scoop up a handful of dirt. I thought, oh gosh, here we go. I figured he was going to fling it at me like all the rest, but he didn't. Then I heard him making saliva with his mouth, and then he spit. But it didn't hit me. He must have missed. Well, again I heard him making saliva, and a second time he spit. Missed again. Maybe this man was blind as well. And a third time he made saliva and spit again. By now I was thankful for his poor aim. But then I heard him working the dirt in his hands, and then he reached around behind my neck and took the back of my head in his hand. He took the dirt in his hand and pressed it into my eyes. I said, "Please, sir, don't hurt me. I have nothing. Take my money and take my cloak, but just leave me in peace." I tried to squirm away, but his grip was too hard, too strong. The dirt burned in my eyes. Then he finally spoke. He said, Go to the pool of Siloam and wash." By that time, a crowd had gathered around me, and I felt hands grabbing my arms. They led me to the pool. By the time I got there, my eyes ached something terrible, so I plunged my head into the water and used my hands to clean the dirt from my eyes. But then there was a new pain. It was like 1,000 hot, searing daggers piercing my eyeballs. I was so startled, I stood up quickly, the water cascading from my head. I stumbled backward. I almost passed out. I couldn't control my breathing. I landed on my back and then slowly began to realize I was able to see colors, shapes, the blue sky, the white clouds, the fuzzy faces of the people looking at me. I was scared. I scrambled to my feet and pushed my way through the crowd, trying to get away. I half stumbled more than ran. I didn't know what to do, so I decided I'd go home. But I got lost because I'd never found my way home with my eyes before. I had always done it by feeling my way along the walls of the street. When I finally reached my house, I burst through the door. My mother was in the kitchen. I ran in, I grabbed her, picked her up, and gave her a kiss. She thought I was some lunatic come in off the street and tried to hit me with a loaf of bread. My father, when he realized what had happened and that I could see, just stood there weeping. Now the next few days, I spent trying to explain to people what had happened to me, what this man Jesus had done for me, how he had placed mud in my eyes and told me to go wash. I'm not sure many of them believed me. I just think they thought I was faking it the whole time because I was lazy and didn't want to work. And then the Pharisees heard about it. They sent for me and brought me in front of them. They questioned me at great length. Who is this Jesus of Nazareth? Is he a sinner? Is he a blasphemer? I said, I don't know. When he was with me, I never saw his face. I never seen him. I don't know who he is. I think he might be a prophet. But when they couldn't get the answers out of me that they wanted, they sent for my family, my mother and my father. I was scared for them. I was afraid that if they didn't give the right answers, that they would be banned from the synagogue, and that would kill them. Finally, my father got upset and told the Pharisees, "We know nothing of this matter. Ask our son. He is of age. He was there. He can tell you." So they let them go and brought me back in front of them. Once again, they questioned me at great length. I finally started to get angry, and I said, if you're so interested in this man, maybe you want to be his disciples. Well, that didn't go over very well. They continued to question me, and once again I got angrier. I said, you know, the amazing thing is this man took mud and healed my eyesight, obviously only something that God could do, and you, the religious leaders, know nothing about him. That really made them mad. They looked at me and said, who are you to lecture us, you who are steeped in sin? Then they took me and escorted me out, told me not to come back and that I was banned for life from the synagogue. This saddened me, because at one point when I first got my eyesight, I thought how great it would be to be able to go and worship with my family and the other members of my community. I decided to take a walk to try and clear my head. It was then that I felt a hand on my shoulder. Before I could turn around, I heard a voice. I recognized it to be the rabbi that had pressed the mud into my eyes. He said, do you believe in the Son of Man? I said, Lord, tell me who he is and I will believe. He then said again, you know who he is. He is the one who is speaking to you. I turned around, and when I saw him for the first time, I fell to my knees. I said, Lord, I believe. And it was at that moment I realized that at the fountain, I'd only been half healed of my blindness. It wasn't until that moment that my eyes were truly opened. That's why I go by the name of man who was born blind. What name would you go by? You see, it's easy to walk around with your eyes open in the darkness like the Pharisees. It's not until you truly know Jesus that your eyes are opened. So what would your label be? Would it be husband who neglected his family? Would it be student who was bullied at school? Maybe it would be he who was raised without religion, or man who was an addict. Could it be neighbor who was too busy to care? Pray to Jesus that he opens your eyes, and then when he does, go out and tell your story. Because it's stories like mine and like yours that spread the word of God. It tells of his good deeds. The rabbi said, as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Go forth, be his torch and carry his light.